Hey, everybody. So, thanks for tuning back into another episode of the Bourbon Market. I'm Doug Romer, and as always, I'm here with my good
Chuck
friend.
Gallen.
Yeah, so, and, like Chuck's always trying to class this up a little bit. He's in the collared shirt. I'm always in t shirt or a hoodie or something like that. I mean, so, but, so Chuck and I always film on a certain day. And I've been under the weather, and I told him, I was like, listen, I'm always up for drinking bourbon, but as far as tastings and stuff like that goes, I can't smell and I can't taste a whole lot right now. So, we didn't want to not film. So what we're going to do is we're going to mix it up a little bit. And instead of doing a review or anything like that, now that doesn't mean that we're not still drinking
Cheers.
bourbon. Cheers, man. So what you got in the glass, Chuck?
This is Uncle Nearest 1856. It's I had
Okay.
the other was it 1849.
Yeah, so we tried the 1884 when you were down here, and it was a really good bourbon. So I'm interested in seeing what the 56 is like. I'm having, and so it's kind of what we want to talk about today. I'm having Eagle Rare, and it's just just Eagle Rare 10-year. But so what we're going to talk about is the secondary market. Okay, so it's hard for me, and you're in the same situation that I'm in because you've been drinking bourbon forever, Chuck, and being from Kentucky. We used to be able to walk into a liquor store and you would have like this right here, a Weller Special Reserve would be sitting on the shelf, and there would be a dozen of them, and you could buy as many as you wanted for like 21.99. I think like 18.99 is what I remember paying for this because, like I said, it just sat there. And so, once people started getting into it and things like that, all of a sudden the secondary market went up, and now you can't touch these bottles. We've got some stuff sitting in front of us that we wanted to talk about. And, the funny thing is when you were pulling stuff, because I just grabbed a few bottles, you had no idea what I was getting. I just grabbed a few bottles that are allocated bottles that shouldn't be allocated bottles. And, you grabbed the stuff from your cabinet, and
it's all the same distillery.
Yeah, that's what we were laughing about it, and you said, man, it's all the same distillery. And I said, yeah, it is. Like once you started looking at it. So let's just get into it, man. Secondary market, good for bourbon, bad for bourbon.
I guess if you look at it from a straight business standpoint, if you have people willing to pay it, there's money to be made. You can look at it from that way, but as far as the collector's concerned and where it started and where it's at now, it's obscene where it's at now as far as pricing goes. I don't think it's good overall for collecting because this, and we'll get into prices, but I mean, right up front as an example, this is, I paid $37 for this. Now, I had to wait for an allocation event to get it, but I paid $37 for a 12-year bottle. Secondary market for that's between $500 and $600. It's stupid.
Yeah, and like it's stupid. It is. And so here's the thing: is like people who have been enjoying bourbon for years, people who are truly bourbon people, can't buy those bottles anymore. Because so to get one at retail, you've got to either A, know somebody, or B, like you got it in, and when you called and told me about, your allocation that you got that stuff in, like I was blown away. Because we don't have anything like that here in South Carolina because everybody's trying to make money on it. There are a few people who put the stuff out on the shelves at retail, but they don't hold the allocated stuff back and have like an allocated event like you were talking about, but so because like I love that antique 107 that you've got sitting there, but like I'm not going to pay the price to get that bottle. Like I'm just not going to do it. And is it good for the bourbon market? Yeah, I mean, I guess in the fact that people talk about it, for years, people didn't talk about bourbon. I mean, so I was from Kentucky or am from Kentucky, and, like, because it was nothing for me to go in and have dinner and order a bourbon to have with my dinner. Okay. But like the funny thing was when I would travel out of town, people looked at you like you're crazy if you order a bourbon to have with your dinner. Yeah. And so, from that point, like it's great because I can go out and have a bourbon now and people don't look at me like, okay, this dude's got a problem, but as far as, and we'll get into something you said a second ago about collections, I mean, so you and I will both say that we have a collection.
Yeah.
And we do, in the fact that we've got a whole lot of bottles sitting in a cabinet, but like this one's unopened. And it's the only bottle that I have that's unopened that I brought up. You've got some stuff that's unopened there, but the thing is like I know for a fact that both of those bottles that are unopened, you've got open bottles in the cabinet of that, and so the thing that here's what I don't like about it. I don't like the fact that you've got what it's created is kind of a social media. We're going to flex, if you will, in the fact that I've got all these bottles. These people that post pictures of their collections and stuff, the thing that kills me is most of the bottles are unopened. And like, you're not enjoying the bourbon. All you're doing is keeping people like me from getting those bottles to drink.
And that's and we discussed it. The one bottle I have in view here that will be held on to for a while until I get another one is the Pappy bottle, and that's the reason why. That one has always been sought after. It's hard; they're hard to come by. If you just don't absolutely know somebody that can just get you something anytime you want it. But that bottle will stay unopened for a while. I have reasons for it, like a lot of people do when they get a bottle like that. But everything else is open game in my whole cabinet, and I have separated my stuff here recently out, like I told you, of stuff that I had unopened because I had been collecting for like 3 years, and I've tried everything I have here pretty much that I have unopened bottles, but it's just I've tried it here and there in bars and places like that, but I'm working my way through to make sure my stuff is open.
Yeah.
Because I don't want people coming over there thinking that they can't open something just because it has a seal on it. I'm like, no, just go ahead. That's what it's for,
Yeah, that's what. So I had a buddy over last week, and excuse me, I said, go grab a bottle, and he pulled a bottle out, and then realized that it hadn't been opened because I had literally just bought it the day before. And he was like, he put it back in, and I said, "Did you what?" And he was like, "Well, it's not open." And I said, "We'll open it." But take the seal off of it and pour it, and it's we've talked before and we've mentioned it before. It's made to drink. Bourbon is something that's made to drink and be enjoyed with friends and company and things like that. And so the secondary market to me has killed the true people who appreciate bourbon and use it for its purpose because of the fact that stuff is so hard to get, and it's kind of like a status symbol if you have it sitting in your cabinet, that I've gone into people's homes that they're like, hey, look at what I've got, and everything is sealed, like nothing's been open. And like those are the kind of people that they've got all of this stuff that we've got sitting right here, and then like they pour you a benchmark number 8 or something. And I'm like, no, that ain't gonna work.
To be quite frank, I'm not going to be friends with
But
I can't.
no. Like I said, went to. I didn't say I went back to their house. So, but so to me, the secondary market is killing the bourbon. It's kind of killing the fact that, because I know a lot of guys who don't really have what they had before because of the secondary market. Like I've got a buddy that you would go over to his house and he would always have at least 2 or 3 of these sitting in the cabinet. And it's what that he liked, like, I mean, I've drank this stuff forever. And so it's what he liked. And so he doesn't drink bourbon nearly as much now because he can't get what he likes.
Or people who start off.
That to me is kind of sad.
Or there's people who start off.
I'm sorry?
Like right now, like around, they started in the last 5 years, and they, like a lot of people, in my opinion, they start high on the hog, so to speak, as far as like what they've actually tried. And that Weller Special Reserve you have in front of you, they'll try that because it's a cheaper pour, but it tastes great. But that's not something you can find everywhere. I mean, because Weller Special Reserve, and if it's priced right, this right here are almost the same price. They're
they're like 21 to 23 bucks or something.
Fine, but it's still within. That should be in that $20-something range. That's where you need to look for that stuff.
Yeah.
But there's people who are overpricing this for, upwards of $80, just like Buffalo Trace, which is just crazy.
Yeah. Like I have, so, I'm in South Carolina, and we go to Charleston on a regular basis, and like, it's nothing to go in and see this priced $80 to $100. And like, that's just stupid.
The 107,
it's,
this will be $300. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's and like this right here, everybody. Don't even get me started on this.
There's just as big of a crowd that shakes their head about that bottle than there is the people who like it.
Absolutely, So this has got this little horse on the top of it, and I don't know if you can. I don't know if you still can, but you used to be able to. Like, everybody would collect these and try to get the whole collection. Like, you used to be able to go on their website and order it right off their website.
And to make it look all nice, you don't have to go in their bottles.
Yeah, like you don't have to. But I mean, I've got a bottle of this. Just it was a store pick. I paid retail for it. It was I walked in and they happened to have it sitting there, and I thought, I'll get it. Because when people come over, especially, and here's another thing is, so when people come over to my house, they'll say, hey, do you have any Blantons? And I'm like, yeah, but like, why do you, and they're like, well, I've heard it's really good. I'm like, okay. So, and they've never even tried it. But they think that they need to. And so what I'll do is I'm like, okay, here, have a pour of it, but then we're going to try this and this and this. And they're like, oh, okay, I see what you mean. And, so because this bottle is $60.99, somewhere around in there retail. And I saw just recently a store in Louisville had, not gold, not anything like that. This bottle right here, obviously not a store pick, but for $200.
It's a $60 bottle.
And I mean, like,
Yeah.
It's a $60 bottle, and it's probably a $40 bourbon. You know, it's like a $40 bourbon with a $30 little horse on top of it.
Friends of mine, we've talked about this ball particularly, and I agree with them. I mean, I had a colleague I worked with that, she said she'd have four roses any day of the week above Blanton's, as far as like smooth and taste, smoothness and taste and all that stuff. I completely agree with that. I mean, and it's cheaper, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And you can walk into any liquor store in the country and find Four Roses at retail. Like, I mean, any store in the country, you can walk in and find it at retail. So,
said knock on wood, we can right now.
I'm sorry? Well, yeah, that's what, and so, what we'll do in another video is we'll talk about the bourbons that, kind of like you're talking, knock on wood, that you need to run out and get right now while you can, because, different stuff is happening that we kind of know about and that's coming down the pipe that is going to cause some of these bourbons to be not necessarily allocated, but hard to find. And, so you need to go ahead and get them. But, so we'll just go through it real quick. Like, this is a $31 bottle. At $31, it's a good bourbon.
Nope.
At $80, it's not. And, this is going to cost you $80. If you can find it, that's about the cheapest that you're going to find it. Unless, like I said, you luck into one of those stores that's selling them at retail, or somebody. So, this is a $23 bottle. It's going to cost you in the neighborhood of $80. $60 bottle.
Average is 100.
I don't know.
Usually
people are going crazy. It's like 100 to 120. My neighbor she was bragging about getting a bottle the other day, and I found out she paid $160 for it. And she was acting like she'd done something great. This bottle right here, $23, $21.99, $23.99. I can't remember just off the top of my head. I've seen it for, $49.99 here. I've seen it in Charleston for $80.
I've watched people list $80 out west for $80, which is crazy.
Yeah, and so like at retail, these three bourbons right here are really good at retail. And they're really good at a little bit over retail. $5 to $10 over retail. Some of the stuff that you hear is really good at, $20 over retail. But you want to just go through and kind of what it's selling for?
Weller 12, highly sought after bottle. It's really good, and really good bourbon. Especially for its actual retail price, which is I paid basically $38 for it. But you're going to see this listed anywhere from $150 to secondary market. Like I said, it could be as high as $500 or $600, and they'll go all day long because some people just want them and they'll buy them. This is Weller 107, Antique 107. I can't remember exactly what the price was on this, but I'm guessing it was somewhere in the maybe 30.
I think it's
35.
32, like 28, 32, somewhere in there.
How they list them, like actual retail prices, special reserve in Antique 107 and 12 years.
Yeah.
As far as like hierarchy of price. But this will go for $300. As high as $300. Will also be around $150 if you look for somewhere. But a lot of places list this in their store for $300. It's not a $300 bourbon.
Yeah,
it's absolutely not a $300 bourbon.
No.
I paid $29 for Size Rack Rye. It's a great price for it. It's always going to be that price where I buy. And it's, but it's, like I said, that can be upwards of $80 too in the store, as high as 80. But an average, some people sometimes they'll add 25, $30 to it, which is,
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good bourbon, but it's not that bourbon. It's not worth that price. And then you have Pappy.
No.
Um,
No.
this bottle secondary market can go as high as $2,000 to $2,500. I paid $87 for it. If you pay $100 for this bottle, I will still clap for you. It's worth bad. I mean, if you find one, that's great.
Absolutely.
But it's not. Don't go obscene prices with this stuff because it's not worth it. Bourbon's bourbon, and you can. I've tried almost I think everything except the top tier Pappy bottle. I've tried every other level, and there are things equivalent you can find in other bourbons as far as taste and palate and what it brings to you as far as a good pour. You don't have to have Pappy. And if you're really looking at it for the bourbon and something you can drink, it's great if you find one, but if you don't, there's definitely all kinds of alternatives, especially today. It seems like there's a new bourbon hitting once a week.
There's, and so just going back to better bourbons out for the money. So that Weller 12-year, if you can find that Weller 12-year at $37, in my opinion, that's hands down the best bourbon that you're going to find for the money if you can get it at retail. I mean, pound for pound, dollar for dollar, that's the best bourbon that you're going to find at that price, if you can find it at that price point.
And you probably won't, but it'll be close, possibly, in some places.
Yeah, I mean, and so the thing is sitting here talking about this, we have to wonder, it looks like it's going to continue to go up, because the distilleries are allocating more and more bourbons. The stores are getting fewer and fewer bourbons of the allocated stuff. And so, it's a supply and demand thing at this point. Yeah. And so, it's going to continue to rise, is at least what it looks like. But like I said, the thing is, and this is just me and you talking, we don't have notes in here, sitting here anywhere or anything like that. We didn't talk about it before. Like we got on here and you said, "Hey, what are we going to talk about?" And I said, "Why don't we just talk about this?" And, so the thing is will it fix itself? No, it's not going to. People are going to continue to pay for it because they want it in their cabinet. People are going to continue to pay the high prices and then never taste it. And so it looks like it's going to continue to go crazy. Like I said, is it bad for bourbon? I guess from a standpoint of people are talking about bourbon now, it's great for bourbon. Is it great for people who have been drinking bourbon for years and can't find what they used to drink? No, it's horrible. I hate it. Yeah. I mean, just being completely honest, it's terrible to me because, like I said, I can't drink the stuff that I used to drink that I love to drink because I refuse to pay for it. Refuse to pay for it. I won't, none of the stuff here did I pay over retail for?
And I honestly think the only thing for people like me and you who've been around this for a long, long time and watched it progress is the only thing that it really forces you into is good. And there's all kinds of new stuff to try, but it forces you to branch out to see what else is there. What they all, with what people are carrying in different places, as long as it's priced, decent. But I mean, there are new ones though that I refuse to try because of the price. You can't do brand new and then charge what you're going to charge.
Absolutely, and that's another point to this. When you're talking about is it good for bourbon, it's been great in the fact that these smaller distilleries and these new distilleries have been able to make it and thrive because of certain companies that they're getting their bourbon from. But, so, I mean, like you and I couldn't go out and start a distillery tomorrow and be like, hey, we've got a 7-year bourbon over here. No, you don't. There's no way. So, it's allowed these companies, and there are a lot of companies out there that are sourcing their bourbons that you've got to wonder what their actual bourbon's going to taste like.
Especially if they're in an area where they're like, you can't, if anybody has ever been to different parts of the United States, water's not the same. And if you try to tell me that it is, I'm going to argue with you and you're not going to win. Because it's not. It's absolutely not the same. Now, Kentucky and Tennessee are very similar just because of how streams, it's just how those states are laid out. But anything outside of that, they're connected, but anything outside
they're connected.
Of that is, I mean, really wonder what they're especially.
Yeah, like, I mean, you've got a lot of upstart distilleries here in South Carolina, and like, so I went downtown the other day and ordered a water and couldn't get water because the water actually comes out of the spigot brown, and and not only that, but you've got the limestone and all that. In Kentucky, it's completely different water. And so that plays into it. So you've got these upstart distilleries that are sourcing their bourbons. And like I said, the secondary market has been great for them because people like you and I who would never branch out before are trying different bourbons, because like I'll walk into the liquor store and say, hey, you got anything new for me to try? And he's like, yeah, I tried this I think you'll like it. And it's stuff that I would have never tried before because, like I said, these, this stuff right here was what I was drinking. So it's good in that sense. But like I said, you've got to think, are they always going to source their stuff from MGP? Or at some point, are they going to try to distill their own bourbons? And then what's that going to taste like? So you've got to think, is it, or do we have good bourbons right now because of this from all of these, because I'll be honest with you, and like Garrison Brothers, if you're listening and you want to send us a bottle, we'll absolutely try it and give you an honest review. But like, I can't make myself pay $150 for a bottle of bourbon out of Texas that I've never, like, I can't do it.
It's not just that I can't, I won't. I'm not going to do it.
No, absolutely. I refuse to do it. Because honestly, like if I'm going to pay $150 for a bottle, I'm going to find one of these, like I'm going to buy, a couple bottles of this or something like that. Or I'm going to look until I find a 107. Or something like that. If I'm going to pay that,
like there's a smaller distillery, as far as like, and I've got a bunch of their collection now. I've showed it to you and we drank some. I think when you were up here in Tennessee, is the barrel bourbon. Great stuff. But they're, I'm paying $87 for one of their bottles. Where you'll pay, I can buy almost two of those, two different kinds of their stuff, and it's great stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And like they're is it blended? I can't. So they've got a really cool thing where they'll take a batch and then they add to it. So like you're not ever going to get a bottle that tastes the same.
It's always good.
But it's always good. It's always good. And so, you know, but like I said, I just can't do you know, but the thing is so the secondary markets kind of brought us to that. But like I said, I mean, ultimately, I think it's good for bourbon in the fact that we're getting more stuff. It's brought kind of notoriety to bourbon because it was kind of shunned before. Do I like it? No, not at all. You know, Sazerac, but if you're watching it, like, you can send us the stuff. I mean, we can't find it, so you know, like, we will fill our cabinets with this stuff all. We'll fill our cabinets with this stuff all day long, but you know, so there you have it. You know, Chuck and I, good, yeah. You know, I mean, it is what it is. Are we happy about it? No. Have we gotten a lot of different bourbons because of it? Yeah. And is that good for bourbon? Yeah. I mean, you know,
it allows you to try a few. You know,
so
it's allowed some people to branch out as far as distilleries from their end, users. You know, as far as people who drink bourbon drinkers, it allows them to get out and try new things because of the, you know, maybe a top tier, what I consider a blue blood, if you want to say, top bourbon that you can't find that forces you into other things. But it also allows you to find things that are hidden gems too. There's plenty of things I have found that are great, and they're $25. That are just new,
absolutely,
you know, or were new.
You know, I mean,
so
absolutely. And even stuff that isn't new that we just never tried before. You know, that now because stuff has gotten so expensive, you're like, yeah, you know, I'll try it. And so, you know, I mean, you don't have to agree with us. You can if you want. It's not going to hurt our feelings either way. But, you know, that's our take on it. Don't think it's going, you know, I mean, there's going to have to be some drastic stuff take place for it to change. I hope that happens, but, you know, forecasting the future and I don't see that happening, but we'll see, you know. So go ahead. Don't forget to, you know, subscribe, turn on the notifications, and comment down below. Tell us what you think about the secondary market. Is it hurting bourbon? Is it good for bourbon? Let us know what you think. I'm Doug Romer.